Nathan.
Lucas, what's up?
Not much. I'm excited for today's episode. Today's a little different taste.
Yeah? Good taste? Bad taste? What do you think?
I think really good taste. I think a lot of people, so as you all are aware, what we try to promote here is positivity in the community. Um, and some of what we might be talking about might not be a phenomenal tasting thing, but I feel like the way that we are going to present and frame it is part of kind of uplifting the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's an important thing that we're discussing tonight, and it'll be fun to have some outside perspective on it as well.
Yeah. So Nathan and I are recording Sunday prior to this releasing Friday, and we were going to go solo. But then, like, last minute, we were like, this individual would be an amazing person to have on because he feels so passionately about these animals. So we're going to be having Adler Romero with AEfoundry on to join us in this discussion. But Nathan, why don't you talk a little bit about what we're going to be talking today, so that way people are like, what the hell are they talking about?
So, we're going to be discussing some of the not so great things that happen within reptile breeding, some bad business practices, mostly, um, you know, large scale stuff where people start not, or I guess just taking for granted their animals, and, um, just how we can, as a community, try to aim towards a better future of reptile breeding.
Yeah, and to be very specific and just like direct to what we're talking about, if you guys haven't known, um, Morph Market took under new ownership and they started kicking people out for some of the practices and things that they do. One of them being a really big Retic individual. And we're just going to kind of go into detail about all that and kind of what we need to start working towards to just be a more legit community. And I know Adler has a bunch of words to say about that. So real quick before we jump into that, guys, we're on episode 39. We've almost been doing this for a year. Thank you so much for the support so far. It has been phenomenal doing this. It is a lot, Nathan. I know doing this weekly and pumping out content. So we appreciate the feedback, the comments, and the support. That link below for Patreon. We were on the live earlier tonight. Tried to get some people to come over there. It's a great community where we have a lot more conversation about what we're talking about today. It's all over the Discord. Differing of opinions, but still everything is welcomed and respectful there. So come join us.
And I just want to add to, we're always watching our YouTube comments. So, and we record these weekly. We don't bank any of these. So if you have suggestions for stuff you'd like to see on the podcast, throw them in there.
Yeah, love watching those comments, especially the pretty ones that we get. All right, so we're going to jump in to Adler here, but of course, we want to drop our sponsor plugs. Thank you so much for sponsoring TRL. Whether you're just getting into retics or you've been breeding for years, the first place you want to visit is Stewart Design. More and more breeders keep showing up at shows, on Morph Market, and all over socials. Sometimes it may feel impossible to get anyone's attention. Stewart Design helps small businesses like yours do big things through brand clarity, helping entrepreneurs to start and scale businesses that are easy to know and love. Their work can help any company or industry, but they've done a ton of work for ours. Stewart Design created the brand for USARKs, Canova, Reach Out Reptiles, Coiled, and dozens of other well-known reptile breeders. Like many of us, the owner of Stewart Design, Blake, is a keeper and breeder who fell in love with retics. Although Stewart Design does a lot of corporate work, Blake has a passion for working with people in the reptile industry. So, wondering if Stewart Design is right for you? Stewart Design can help if you're just getting started or you're ready to take things to the next level. Maybe you're struggling to stand out and build your presence online or at shows. And maybe you don't want to be like the other guys or get lost in the crowd. You want to make your own way doing what you love. You might just have a big idea and know your business is special, but you need help sharing it with the reptile community. If something here resonates with you, reach out to Blake. Have a conversation with him. To learn more or get started, visit sdidentity.com or call them at 855 SD Logos. Clear brand, own markets, Stewart Design helps create them. If you are in the market for an enclosure for your reticulated python or any other one of your reptiles, Focus Cubed Habitats is your one-stop shop for not only the best-looking cages on the market, but also provide amazing features and add-ons to your cages. We partnered with Focus Cubed Habitats because they continue to innovate and change the way we house our animals unlike any other caging company out there. Their cages are designed intelligently and provide the most stylish and secure housing for your animals' comfort and well-being. Visit focuscubedhabitats.com for your animals' caging needs. Again, visit focuscubedhabitats.com for some amazing and stylish enclosures.
We also want to thank VivTech Products for being an affiliate sponsor of the Retic Lounge. Stop by VivTech Products for the best UV spectrum lighting on the market that will enhance and improve your snake's overall well-being and health. Visit VivTechProducts.com and use the code ReticLounge23 today for 15% off. Again, visit VivTechProducts.com and use our affiliate code ReticLounge23 today for 15% off.
Adler, what's going on, man?
What's up, guys? How you guys doing?
A little bit of a different scene from you, Adler. Not what I'm used to.
Yeah. I mean, having to deal with living in a studio apartment and my kids are going to bed right now. I had to go into the hallway and go. Basically, my camera or my lighting is in my closet, so you're seeing my front door behind me, and I'm looking at a bunch of clothes right now. So.
That's awesome.
So what's funny is that this was like an impromptu, like last minute thing that Adler agreed to be able to do. And if you guys don't know Adler's like the most anal person when it comes to his camera setup, lighting, studio quality sounds. Like I'm actually kind of happy he's doing this because he would have showed us up. So
No, it's fine. It's fine. I mean, even then, I still had to have the lighting. I had to have the background lighting. I still put effort in. So
we appreciate you, Adler.
And I wanted to be a Power Ranger with you guys.
Right. We got 2 blue Power Rangers and green. So
yeah.
All right. So before we even jump in everything, I know that we're going to be talking about something that I think we're all pretty passionate about, but I definitely don't want to blow over the opportunity for people to get to know you if they haven't heard you before. So just kind of introduce yourself and tell us what's up.
So my name's Adler. On Instagram, I go under AEfoundry. That is like my art stuff. But together with my wife and my kids, we run Serpent Eclipse, which is this logo right here. On Instagram, it's at Serpent_Eclipse. And yeah, we kind of have a good collection of reptiles already within the about 2 years, 2.5 years that we've been in this. We keep locality retics, crosses, ball pythons, crested geckos, leopard geckos, jeweled lacerdas, the melanistic ones, which those are amazing. And then we have a couple pets like our bearded dragon and our Brettles python. So we have a nice diverse collection. And ever since I jumped in, I've always just been heavy on doing my research and finding out about each species that we keep and what do they need. And I think it lends to how I feel, especially about today's topic that we're going to be discussing. Outside from that, like I said, I am a digital creative. I do everything from graphic design to 3D graphics, motion graphics, photography, videography, statue creation. I've done 3D printing. Most of my career has been all that stuff. And
are you talking about like D&D statues?
Yeah, I have a few games that I've done. Fire and Axe, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Boys, like the comic book The Boys. So I actually have
those figures. Those are cool.
Yeah, those ones I did. So I did that for quite a while.
Awesome.
So do you feel like any of your graphic design background has helped in maybe like your like enclosure design?
I would say I will eventually want to get there, but
Okay,
we just haven't had the money to like go balls to the wall with it yet. But
sure.
I do have like especially at least the newest enclosure for my tiger male retic. Um, Jamie was like, "Oh, why don't you get these PVC perches that look like a branch, like this color?" It's like, no, I have to have everything blacked out. Like it has to all match. It has to. So I guess yeah, similar tendencies when it comes to my graphic work do lead over to how I like things put together and looked. And sometimes I make do with what I can get by with, but yeah, eventually I will have everything like uniformed and looking nice. Like when we move to a house, and I know I've talked with you, Lucas, about this, but I want to have like a full wall to where I can have holdbacks in.
Mm.
So a lot of them might be empty when we first move in, but as I start producing animals or getting animals in that I'm going to hold back and grow up, then they can all go in that wall and they'll be nicely lit. And you know,
Speaking of making do with what you got over 30 something reptiles in a studio apartment. How the hell does that work?
um, I play Tetris a lot. Let's just say that.
I feel like I'm playing
No,
Tetris with six, and
yeah,
it
yeah.
sounds like I have more space. That's
Yeah, so the way I have it is whenever you guys see me on camera on most of the other podcasts or any of my video, that's actually like my office corner. And basically that starts with an L right next to me is some enclosures, and then it goes all the way down the 10-foot wall that we have that leads into our cross of the living room. And then since this was an old apartment that my grandparents owned, there was a Murphy bed that I put in the garage, and that's where I moved all the geckos to. So there's two separate sides. There's the snakes and then there's the geckos. So
all right.
It's
That's
impressive.
really utilizing every inch of your space.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
and I
awesome.
mean I wish I could have everything in a Viv, but some of my stuff's in tubs right now. And but when we move, I plan to have everything in nice giant enclosures, and that's just how I want to keep.
Yeah. Um, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of ready to jump into today's topic. I feel like it's I'm kind of happy that we just sprung up and wanted to talk about this because this is all fairly recent. And I don't think there's a better platform for us to just kind of talk about the things that have happened here recently with Morph Market posted on their Facebook group that they were going through and cleaning up. They were cleaning house, getting rid of some bad apples. I think that was the word that they said was bad
Yeah.
apples and removing them. And now I don't know I don't know any other people from any other industries that were moved out, but I know that there was someone who's been controversial for quite a while that was just cutthroat, taken down. Um, and I kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts just on that move alone right there before we even go deeper into this discussion.
Uh, I think it's the move we need in retics, especially. I mean, any animals, just the individual in the business that we're talking about. Um, I know what the inside looks like. This is someone who shouldn't have animals. Period. Um, so yeah, I think industry policing like this, where an individual is that bad with his animals, gets taken out, it's necessary. We all
Yeah.
should have some kind of standard to live up to if we're going to produce and sell these animals. Period.
Yeah, no, I agree with Nathan. I want to say one point though is it and this is me playing devil's advocate that's going to lead into my answer on me agreeing with Nathan. But um, I think with the way that they're doing it is great. It's something to show that hey, we mean business. So it's either buck up or shut up. Um, I think for some breeders or keepers, whoever's on the platform, um, I think a right away ban might not be the best method going on for some. But as far as the individual that we're talking about, he's had plenty of fucking time. Can I cuss? Sorry.
Yeah.
Um, he's had
Because yeah.
I
he's had
click not
plenty of
made for kids every week.
okay. So he's had plenty of fucking time to shape up. So I think in this regard, I think it's perfect, and I think it's time that somebody's like, we mean business, and
Well,
we're
and I
going to
think
stand
we
up
should
for this.
add a little caveat to that individual, and there is documented proof of animal torture, abuse, whatever you want to call it.
It's
So,
torture, like flat out. And I mean, I'm even
Yeah,
going to go ahead and I know the information and the pictures that have arisen on someone's platform on YouTube. I know those animals are this individual's facility in the pictures of his animals. There's rumor that a bunch of other photos are going to go public, but uh, go watch that video and see the condition that the animals are in. Because here's the issue. You could talk about lying and deceiving. You could talk about, and let's just like hit this home to the Retic community. Someone's out there lying about percentages, or they're giving locality data, and it's not like super legit, right? So those are things that like would be really difficult for me to stomach with a classifieds platform just like right off the bat cutthroat saying bye, right? Like to speak to your point, Adler,
yeah,
because I agree with that in the sense of like just like bashing down the hammer, um, especially with new ownership is like that's a big deal, right?
yeah,
And you got to be careful about that. But we're talking about animals that are being severely neglected to the point of death, and not an easy death either. I'm not going to include the images on this platform because I don't think that. I don't know. I mean,
it's depressing, man. It's depressing. Like I
it's
literally was in a funk for maybe a week when I saw that video.
yeah, and another reason why we don't do that here is just because we don't want more eyes right now that we need on these type of photos until behind the scenes work is being done uh, to try to get this guy out of the community because it can bring a lot of bad attention to one sour apple can really take down an industry if it's bad enough. And I'm sorry, this is bad. But to give you guys a reference and just a description, animals that have pushed their face in to the point of it just being terrible because of the size of their enclosures. We're talking about just blood and pus filled on the bottom of a floor because they're trying to provide their own veterinary care for respiratory infections that they're not getting treated. There's a video of a snake malnourished, eyes completely probably just like a few hours away from death. And I don't know what else is on that video, but and this is a person who had the reputation of taking care of their animals like this back in the 90s and early 2000s before they were arrested for dogfighting, and then got out of prison and I guess decided to not learn from that experience and just continue going on this path. And so this is something that I think was totally necessary because allowing someone like this to continue to have a huge platform to sell animals. Remember, there's one thing that someone has said, and it resonates, I think, with everyone. You vote with your money, right? It, as long as they continue to receive an income, they continue to own these animals and keep selling them. And yeah, I mean, what infuriates me is just knowing that there's probably going to be people that'll support him blindly, and I'm almost worried that he's going to stay in the industry somehow, some way.
Well, I think to that point, there's something that I feel like on top of, getting, bad apples out of the industry is we need to stop idolizing people. We need to stop, we can respect somebody, but I
sure.
think this blind, gospel following um, is a hindrance to us to grow because we don't want to self-police. We might get scared that, hey, if we burn our bridge with this person, that may affect me this way. It's just like I don't know. It's irritating because when the evidence is right in front of you and you still can look away, what's going to change? You know?
Yeah. I just to even like touch on that topic from like a psychological background, there's this idea that if someone is big, right, and they're popular and they are liked by many, it's one of those things where like, oh, if this guy gives me the time of day to answer questions and then I start associating myself with this individual, it'll get me to stardom, or it'll get me to a place where people will know me because I'm affiliated and I talk to this individual. Um and even at that level, like it's something that like you can't judge or blame people for trying to do in such a cutthroat industry like the retake industry. But at the same time, like me being in here now in this industry for 5 going on 6 years, um that was me, right? I wanted to like I'll totally admit that that was my mindset, and that was like, man, if I could be associated with these people and just be me, a respectful person, it'll help get
It's
my name
networking 101.
right. It'll help get my name out there, and but at the same time, like now that I've done this for a while, like the most important thing that you can do is make a name for yourself without tying it into someone else, because once that person's empire crashes, you might go
You're going
down
down
with
with
it.
it.
Well, and I think it's just not healthy to idolize anyone in an industry and like make them the industry standard. Doesn't matter if it's snakes or anything else, but how are you supposed to market your product while trying to promote that others should be, building businesses doing the same thing while also saying I'm the standard?
Right.
Where's the return on investment there?
Yeah.
Exactly. I and Adler, you made a comment about self-policing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that like pisses me off more than like anything else right now, and I've even heard it on the Discord. Love you guys, Patreon family. I'm not throwing any shade to any of you, but something that just like infuriates me is this idea of like this particular incident that is happening. In all the subsequent things that have happened over the month, people continue to throw around the word like, it's drama. It's drama. And you know what? I think the only thing that makes it drama is when people take to it a little personal, or like it's about someone that they know and they get uncomfortable about hearing about this person, and so they just want to push it away, and therefore it's drama. But when we're calling people out like this is self-policing. Like and everybody in the industry is like, we need to self-police. Like who else is going to do it if we don't do it ourselves? And a great example of someone being kicked off a morph market for the condition of their animals is self-policing. I
Yeah.
wish we were a little more like, we weren't so quick to be like, drama. It's like,
I think though, to that point though, is most of the drama is there's no evidence to have it founded. I think in this scenario there's plenty of evidence, and like you said, rumored more to come out. Um, that again, it's not drama. It's just us trying to self police as a community and get some scumbag out of our our space
Yeah.
that
At the
isn't
end
going to
of the
help
day,
us grow.
we love our animals and we want to protect these animals as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I guess to kind of validate a little bit about my point is like, even though this is like indisputable evidence, right? The people that we were talking about like before about not idolizing, the
Yeah.
people that idolize this individual are going to go back to its drama, right?
Yeah.
So I think even if there are facts presented, if it's about an individual that you associate with and it's negative, people will dismiss it as drama.
Yeah.
And
I
so,
think it's important right now in this situation, especially to look at everything very objectively. Um,
yeah,
I've done business with some of these people, like big business with some of these people, and still have to look at it objectively and not just blindly follow.
not emotionally. Yeah.
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 Um, and I think one thing that I think that it's worth talking about in this podcast, because of what we're talking about, is like really an ethical standard and approach to how we keep our animals. because it's more important now than ever with everything going on with FWC, this idea of a whitelist. Like, here's the thing. I think USARK has an ability to get that turned down if they put all their resources to that, because FWC is only governing wildlife in Florida, and what they're trying to do is not associated with Florida wildlife. So I think that's our platform to make an argument against it. But let me tell you, if FWC is able to successfully create a whitelist, and for those of you that aren't familiar with what a whitelist is, it's basically they're going to create a list of the species that you are allowed to keep, and anything not on that is going to be illegal.
Yep. Automatically on the prohibited.
Automatically. So right now there's a blacklist. And a blacklist is, here are animals you can't keep. A whitelist is so much more dangerous because now they can broaden that. They can broaden or shrink down that list, and anything outside of it, banned. And so if Florida is
improperly educated too, it's like they won't know how to identify an animal. It might be completely different, and then they'll say it's this thing, and so
right.
Now you're screwed over because of that.
Right. Exactly. Because we clearly know that FWC can't tell the difference between a fucking boa and a retic, right? So with that being said, if Florida is successfully able to do that, that is very scary for any state moving forward.
Yep.
That's a huge, and I know that Florida's circumstances are totally different because yes, they have plenty of invasive species. Like, I understand that Florida is having an issue, but at the same time, you know, that's what that sets for a governing body nationwide is pretty scary. So back to the original point, why is keeping ethically important right now?
I feel like there's a huge transition right now with new keepers in the industry, at least since I've been in. And that's something that I immediately attached myself to. I think the mentality around that is with the education that's coming out and more ease of access to that information, people are realizing that, hey, these animals aren't so one-dimensional like we thought of them before. I think a great point that our friend Ryan McVeigh makes is, a lot of people say, what's the one metric that you have for them to thrive? Well, there's not just one metric. There's multiple aspects that's going to make an animal thrive. So why can you say that this one is it when we should be looking at the many?
And in the retic industry, that one metric is if it can breed, you're keeping it well.
Yep.
when we all know that's far from the truth. I mean,
that was the first thing that Ryan and I, when we met, we talked about that. He goes, what's the one thing that tells you you're keeping that retic correctly?
Right. If it reproduces.
Like,
now let me tell you,
we need to be thinking about
a
lot more than that.
The individual who was kicked off of MorphMarket produces up to like over 1,000 hatchlings a year. And I can tell you from the evidence out there, they are not the standard of how to keep these animals.
No. One of the pictures got leaked to me, and there's an animal rotting in its tub with its spine exposed. Like, there's no denying that amount of neglect. And how long do you have to neglect a retic to get to that point? I mean,
they're fucking hardy animals.
They are hardy as shit.
I'm just hearing Eric's story about those ones that he was breeding when he was 15, and that they ripped each other open and they healed like nothing
within a shed cycle.
A couple shed cycles, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless, like, I mean, they are phenomenal. Like, if there's ever, I can't really name many other hardier animals than retics.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that those pictures in tubs of flesh, rotting and going away, and like, I mean,
it makes the FWC video almost easy to watch.
No, I mean, to be honest, you're not wrong.
You're not wrong.
And here's the thing: it's like that animal was still in its tub that it lived in. How long are you going without realizing you have a dead animal and you need to dispose of? Listen, when you're breeding and you're breeding a lot, like animals are going to die. Like any of us that are doing this long enough, you're going to have animals died. I had a hatchling um, die on me this season, and I found out right away. Right, the next day that I saw it alive, the previous morning, I saw it right away, and I disposed of it. Like I'm not going to leave it sitting there. And so, like, how often does this need to occur for it to be a thing where it sits in its tub dead for so long that its spine is starting to show, and feces, just it's covered in its own feces. There's feces in the water bowl. Like we gotta do better. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because, man, we're under attack so much as an industry, especially large constrictor keepers, and that includes you guys that are Superdwarf fanatics. You're still a large constrictor keeper. I don't care if you believe your snake's only going to get 5 feet. You're a large constrictor keeper because you own a retic. Um, and so we're under a microscope. And what I mean by we're under a microscope is that it's totally okay for the ball python community to keep 500 snakes all in tubs. And that's the status quo. And I know a lot of people are rubbing against that, right? But people don't look at that and say it's neglectful. But because we keep large retics, if we keep a snake in a 6-foot enclosure, because it doesn't hide in a rock in the wild, right? Like, so we're always under a microscope. And so as breeders and keepers and hobbyists, we have to do better. We have to. And there are big name breeders out there with a ton of respect that are seeing this and they're adapting. Chris McVicker, Eric Lee. Like these are all people leading.
Weston Werner is
Yeah,
one of
Weston.
my favorites.
Yeah.
He's selling huge enclosures to get even bigger enclosures for his animals right now.
Right. He's selling 6x3s so that he can buy more 10-footers.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, again, there are people out there that are seeing this and adapting and they're changing. And then there are those that are not. And we cannot, like, it's got to get to a point where we have to start looking at our industry as a whole and finding a way to help those that don't see the bigger picture adapt and change. I'm not saying that anybody who's keeping their snakes in smaller enclosures are the devil, because again, Adler, we talked about this yesterday, and I know Nathan, we've talked about it, but there's like multiple facets of keeping, right? And enclosure size is not the only way to measure if someone's a good keeper in the retic industry, right? Someone might have smaller enclosures than others, but they might keep with UV lighting, right? They might not be power feeding their snakes to breed quickly.
My thing is give it enough space to live and keep the enclosure clean. Just like that's bare minimum. And then from there, we should be absolutely trying to enrich and enlarge all the living environments that we can. But
Yeah.
I mean, that's at least the standard, is just keep your animal clean. If it's living in a tub, cool. Keep that tub clean.
I mean, so even going back to the topic of me living in a studio apartment, like there's enclosure sizes that I wish I would have bought already, because some of my retics are just growing rapidly. Not trying to power feed them, but they're in that time where they're getting that growth spurt. And so I think my biggest thing is that I can provide them enough room, even if it's may not be length, but height, to be able to allow them to exercise and use their muscles, because these are supposed to be lean animals, strong animals. Provide them UVB, plenty of water and water changes, and just
UV
enough
spectrum.
Yes, UV spectrum, because there's UVA in there as well. I actually caught Ichigo, the one retic I'm specifically talking about right now. He was literally just staring at the bulb for like 10 minutes today, just faced right on their cage and just like a moron, just like. But I mean, it's cool to see. It's cool to see them interact, and the purple girl that I got from Chad, that she's actually going back home with him soon.
Oh, I think we lost him. Do you hear him?
No. He's frozen too. What was Adler doing with that purple girl?
He was just hanging on to it for Chad because Chad was possibly moving and doing things, and so he was hanging on to her for a bit.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, to what Adler was saying is sometimes we understand that people can't provide bigger right away for their snakes, and that's totally okay.
Hmm.
Um, Now, when people end up, I'm gonna bring us back over to just our screen right here until he manages to come back. So when we understand that not everybody's going to be able to do things like that right away, and that's totally okay. But the mindset of minimalistic needs to kind of start to be a thing of the past if we can, and try to continue to provide more.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't. For someone like me who still likes to keep minimalistic, it's all about adding extra height, extra, like the UV spectrum stuff. The sky hides is huge. They love their sky hides, their perches. So I mean, just anything you can.
How's
But
that going, by the way?
so it's going great. My little guy loves his little focus cube enclosure that was sent over. Um, and even still, it's 2 feet high. If I open that glass, he's still trying to climb on top of that thing. They'll use every inch of space that you give them. You could give your retic a 6 foot long and 6 foot tall enclosure. I guarantee you'd see him at the top every day.
Yeah. I'm starting to notice that with my female more that I'm doing the experiment with in regards to just like she's up on there and I'll catch her basking and everything, but if she's not basking, she loves being up top and she has her head hanging right out looking below and either looking for her next meal or just sleeping.
Yeah. So it
Um,
looks like we had a breaker go out for Adler, so he'll be back in a minute. But
okay.
let's get back on topic. We're getting a little bit far away from the topic of the evening, trying to lighten things up, I guess, a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
So what I guess, and we can jump into this with Adler too once he gets back. But what do you think are going to be some of the challenges that come with trying to self police and um, I guess just enforce some of these ethical standards within breeding?
yeah. It's great that you even mentioned that. Nathan and I have been lucky enough to be included in a group chat with a few pretty big name people in the retic industry, and we're actually focusing on trying to make a group, a Facebook group that actually goes back to the roots of like kind of what the retic nation used to be about education, um, and about providing informative, in-depth conversations, but also having a standard of ethics for the people that are in the group, so that we get away from some of the crap that we are seeing, just like what happened with this individual that was kicked off of Morph Market. One of the biggest challenges and barriers I think we've talked about, and I'll touch on it real quick, is that whole quote of drama, right? There's drama when we try to self police, if we're trying to call people out. There's someone in the industry who's been calling people out for 20 years and it's never met, it's never welcomed. And this person historically didn't always used to do it in an untastely manner, right? They would just make a post, call the person out, and it would still be met with the fan base of an individual, kind of retorting or trying to argue or dispute, the pretty clear message that is trying to be sent. Another challenge is I don't think people naturally in the retic industry like to be challenged. They
So
don't.
on that last point, were we talking Rodney?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, no, I mean it's not always in the best taste, but I've never seen him come come after anyone unless it was based on something factually wrong that was happening.
Hmm.
I have seen him beat a dead horse
over
I've
and
I've
over and
seen him get
over.
a little personal, and that's the kind of stuff that, you know, uh, is unfortunate to see.
And it can be frustrating, especially when there's truth to what's trying to be said and it's muddied by some of the crap that, is associated. But, there's just,
No,
you
but
know,
I understand it in a way too.
it's one of those things where, um, I guess if I may speak to that a little bit more, historically speaking, that dude has called a lot of people out. And I think at one point he just realized, and what I mean by call people out is, again, coming from a factually standpoint base, right? So I'll make an example right here, stating that golden childs are from Solaire, right? Um, he'll call that out, and it's never met well. It never does anything, and people never change. And so I think over time he's just starting to find what works, and what works happens to be something that is distasteful and stupid, and um, but yeah, I mean, so people in the Retic industry just don't like to be challenged, and I think where that comes from, um, if we aren't willing to accept um, a scenario where people can openly discuss disagreements about how people do things, then I don't know. Like that's telling me that you are unable and unwilling to see growth. We got Adler back, so let me go ahead and switch him back over. Hi.
Well, Adler, we kind of, as you were gone, brought up just the topic of, how do we move forward, and what are going to be some of the challenges in self-policing and enforcing some of these ethical standards within breeding. So that's kind of what Lucas and I have been bouncing back and forth.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, go for it. Let me get in with you
Process.
guys.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
You still need to woos us a bit.
yeah. I'm a
Yeah. So one thing that we mentioned was kind of that I mentioned was people don't like to be challenged. People don't like to be told that what they're doing might not be right. And so when we try to police in that aspect, there's going to be a lot of rebuttal, a lot of clashing, a lot of banging each other over and over, back and forth, and it starts these wars, right? And there's one thing about, like, coming from my background and my profession as a therapist, we oftentimes will have these group clinical meetings, right? And we'll be discussing clients that we are experiencing challenges or something's going up. And oftentimes, clinicians will provide feedback. Have you considered trying this? Do you think that what you continue to do week over week and it's not working? Have you thought about, right? And it's like it's coming from a place of, like, reflect, look at what you're doing, see if what you're doing is not really okay, and if it's not, let's adapt and make some changes. And we're okay and openly receive that. But then again, we're professionals sitting in a room, as opposed to a retic industry where a lot of people don't know how to conduct themselves.
Well, the problem is we conduct ourselves online, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think outside from just conducting ourselves online, kind of going back to your point, Lucas, about you guys as professionals meeting in a room, kind of discussing that kind of those pain points. Um, for us, I think that the simplest answer is inner policing within ourselves and asking, does this serve the animal any better? Like if we're in an industry that we're supposed to be here for the well-being of the animal, then fucking make it about the well-being of the animal. Stop making it about the dollar. I mean, if you're here for the dollar, fine. I'm not gonna harp on you, but just know that I don't agree with your viewpoints. But this is an industry where our animals are our life, they're our family, and they mean so much to us. I mean, just like, again, going back to the FWC stuff, that was fucking petrifying. Just imagining being able to raise all those animals, have all those animals held back, and they are part of your family. Like, I know if somebody came for my animals like that, I would be going off crazy. I don't know what I would do, but and you're muted. That means Lucas has got a muted mic for this episode.
I wasn't talking.
Yeah, you were.
Thanks for catching it, Adler. I was looking down.
Son of a
Oh,
bitch.
I'm getting both of you guys if either one of you.
Oh no, it's
Um,
not happening.
Nathan
I,
doesn't mute himself anymore.
oh,
He just
oh,
like
he did.
he
I
just
He
have
like
did earlier.
yeah,
He
I
did
have been.
earlier, and I was
he just
watching.
likes to breathe into the mic now.
Wow.
Wow.
But Adler, to your point of self-policing, like the problem I have with that in most cases when it's someone just kind of being an asshole or it's not to this level of neglect and abuse. Like how do we really self-police and how are we effective?
Yeah,
Like what
yeah.
challenges do we have there? Because I mean
I
it's
think
easy in this case when we have so much proof.
yeah. I think the big I mean, yeah, it is easy in this case, but I think the biggest challenge, and we kind of brought it up earlier, is either idolization or worrying that your network is gonna like you're basically done. You know, if you confront somebody that you don't agree with, and that's one step because if we get more people that are willing to bring up those pain points that people are bringing up about any certain individual, and people start hearing because the numbers matter. I mean, just like when we're talking about USARK and it's fucking crazy that there's 5 million people with reptiles, but we only have 15,000 members. You numbers speak. So where we're on a place that we do business online, we have to have more and more people bringing up said pain points to show that people, it's not just one person going off about a person or two people going off, it's a whole crowd of people wording their disagreement or their concern with a certain individual, because at that point people can jump on and be like, okay, maybe this is believable, maybe this is worthwhile. And I know there's a caveat to that, and I know Lucas probably does bring it up, but
No. I was gonna ask if like, so do you think that the problem is that we don't that a single individual is the one that brings it up, and no one gets behind it because of fear? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, sorry if that was long-winded, but yeah.
No. I mean, you spoke about that, but then you also talked about the solution, and I just wanted to clarify what the problem was. So the problem that we see today with self-policing is that there might be multiple people that believe in what an individual might be calling someone out for, or might be trying to help with policing, but no one really speaks up. Yeah, I think that that's true because it's like this fear of
We're all trying to protect our self-image in the end of the day.
right, right. It's
I mean,
self-preservation.
we've
Yeah.
seen it in the Discord with recent events, and honestly, more people are being a little bit more open-minded, and it's also the approach. We're not just trying to be like, "Fucking cancel this guy," like he's got to. It's like, let's hold them accountable. Let's all call them out, and at that point, if they don't do anything, then make your decision what the next step's going to be. But at least there's that first step. We're not even getting to that first step with most fucking things in this industry.
Right. I mean, and I guess I'm coming up with a solution right off the bat, but I think what we don't see oftentimes is we don't see like a good first step, which if you as an individual have an issue with a breeder and how they're doing something, um, I feel like it's going to be a lot more inviting if you message them individually, ask for a phone call, and have a conversation or have a message, a private message, and address that concern privately first. See if that person's willing to receive that feedback. If they receive the feedback, they make adjustments, they change things, great, what you did was effective. If it didn't, reach out a second time. And as you have these message exchanges, you now have documentation of at least, kind of like a CYA of I tried this. And therefore, if this individual was still not responsive, now when you go public about it, you've at least tried to do it in a discreet, respectful manner. And now it warrants going public. And you don't have to threaten the person and say, well, I'm going to go public. Like, no, you don't have to do that. But just then you can make it public, make other people aware of it. But I mean, most of us in this industry, if not all of us, are adults, right? And if you have a problem with an individual, talk to that individual. And if that doesn't work, bring it to the public's awareness. Try to solve the issue that you have in your own hands with that individual, and then take it public. And I think if you do that and you have the proof of trying to solve that issue, whether it's a, hey, I noticed you were, I noticed that every time you post pictures of your snakes, it's pretty, conditions are not good. Or, hey, I noticed you have this 18-foot snake in a 6-foot enclosure, right? Or whatever the issue that you have. Like, if you have the one-on-one proof first, and then when you make it public, it actually might be received much better by the rest of the individuals who are about to start watching this online match. I'm sorry if you hear noise in the background. I just kicked something because I started cramping in my hammy. And if you didn't hear anything, then that's really awkward. But
No, we heard
You can
it.
hear it.
We
There's
heard
a
it.
sorry.
boing.
Bring.
To that point though, also make sure like whatever you do on on that first personal connection or contact, don't just believe them for the words that they're saying unless they can prove it. Because there's going to be a lot of people that'll be like, oh, like say the condition, the condition thing, like you said, Lucas, right now with taking the pictures. Oh, well, that was on cleaning day. That picture was taken. That's probably one of the most excuses you'll hear when people bring that up. Is that was on cleaning day. It's not usually like that. Um, so
Yeah. Nathan, you brought up the question. I'm wondering if you have any other issues that you see with self-policing.
The biggest thing is, I mean, unless it's an egregious kind of a thing, if it's just a personal issue, I have a hard time seeing a lot of people backing up, you know, these call outs. So
Yeah.
it's just the support. So I think it's pretty much what Adler was already hitting on.
Yeah. And I'm going to be a savage by saying this. And for those of you that are that are supporting this individual and defending this individual who's kicked off a Morph Market, every single time I see it, I'm taking a screenshot. And when all of this stuff is released publicly, I'm going to find that opportunity to share your screenshot with you supporting and defending this person, knowing that the information and evidence at hand is factual. Because if you are willing to defend someone basically to your own grave in this industry for the type of like,
I wouldn't even defend my own family as much as some of the
right,
supporters I've seen. Like
right.
if I had someone in my family doing this, I'd be just as pissed.
I don't, I, I got stuck a minute ago and there was a pause because I can't seem to find the right word to describe the horrible conditions and neglect.
It's torture.
that's what it is. It's horrific. It's torture.
But I still don't feel like that like
That
encapsulates it.
even equates. Yeah, it's like
Um,
Cthulhu. We don't even understand what it is.
right, right. Um, so yeah, so for those of you supporting him, and defending him, I'll check back on you when all the pictures and photos are released, and statements and whatever else is out there. Um, and if you've changed your mind, great. And if you still continue to do it, again, self-policing. It's going to be known that you're defending someone who has probably killed thousands of snakes at his hands. Thousands.
Listen, I'm a private business. I have the right to refuse service to anyone, and anyone who supports that doesn't get a snake from me, at least directly.
You don't get a purple phantom. Superdorf.
No, I mean,
No, I
we've talked
agree with
about
what
cutting.
you're saying, but
We've talked about cutting people out, and I think there's a time and place for it.
right.
I don't think you should cut someone out just for association, unless it's something this crazy.
I now
Yeah.
have a question for you guys
Okay.
in regards to this subject. What does it take for you two to either earn or have some type of respect or approval of a person when they screw up and try to fix that? Is it just them saying it all the time? Is it them making sure that the actions are done correctly and there's some accountability there? What level does it take for them to even climb themselves out of the hole? Like, I'm not saying that he can, this one
So
individual,
no,
but in case
that's
any
the,
other
There's
person
nothing that this individual
that's the
can
no,
do.
no,
area
no,
where
no. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Not him, but I'm saying in
I can
general.
think of another individual that in this industry just hasn't rubbed me the right way. You know, his made his divisions with a ton of other people in the retic industry. Um, I, even though he's been a giant asshole, and I won't call him out by name, I still think there is
I knew.
room for him to grow and show that he could be a decent person to other people.
I
I
agree.
need to know now.
So like, yeah, I definitely think there's room for people to grow, but actions definitely speak louder than words.
Yeah.
There's people that I looked up to where their actions have, maybe done the opposite, and I've had to look at them in a different light. So it's always actions speak louder than words.
Yeah. For me, speaking about the first individual that you were talking about, Nathan, that individual has tried to talk me down to other people at shows. I don't know what it is about. Like, started saying things about animals, those kind of things. And even at that, with no leg for me to give him, for him to even do that, because my exchanges with him up until that point were very minimal. I would
Wait, is this
still,
who I think we're talking about?
it probably is.
Probably.
They were brought up earlier on the live on Instagram.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. No, it is.
Even at that point, I could look past it. I could forgive, forget, as long as they were to man up and use their platform for good in the retic industry. And I, I'm a forgiving individual, just naturally. I feel like I tend to have empathy for people, and I can see people's perspectives and why they do things and why they back out of things and why they backtrack and they slip up and they lie. Like, we're all humans. No one's perfect. And I'm not going to hold any of that kind of stuff against people, but it's how they respond to those adversities that really, for me, tells me if that person has the character that I'm willing to work with and accept and forgive and move past. And, those are things like just being open and honest. If you made a mistake, you've made a mistake. And if it needs public attention, bring it, right? If you're that big of a person, bring it, right? If you don't have that kind of platform and everything, then just do better with your next steps and just start showing that you can learn from issues that have happened. Because at some point, if we all do this long enough and we're all breeding retics for a decade, we're going to slip up at some point.
I mean, just in your personal lives, I'm sure you
Right.
both can think of examples within the last year, let's say, that stress has gotten too high, whatever, and you've reacted to a situation in a way that you absolutely hate.
Oh, yeah, I
Yep.
suck.
So, yeah, there's always room to grow beyond that.
Yeah, and it's no different here. I think what matters, and I think what matters for most people in the retic industry is just that clout, that ego, right? It gets in the way too much. Where in life we could be maybe a little bit more humbling. So, yeah, egos definitely need to be set aside a little bit more.
Yeah, and again, without these animals, we wouldn't have a brand to go off of, because it what animals we sell is what makes the name for us. You get
Right.
known for a certain locality retic, or whatever animal. Without them, we're nothing.
And even just speaking about ego, like, think about this. We are at a place with social media and reptile keeping where what most people are chasing is name, recognition, and being well known. So basically, like, you're a famous snake person, right? That's what, like, a lot of people are ultimately chasing is, I want to be known so much by everybody for doing this and that, right? And, like, that's like the first step of, like, that ego comes into place. But don't get me wrong, like, ego has a time and a place for things. Like, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing that you want to do that, right? You have goals, you have aspirations. And if we're being honest, if any of us are opening up legit businesses, we want to be successful, right? But your business will crash and your empire will fall if you make a mistake and you don't own up to it. Period.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I've made a mistake. I made a post about it and called myself out in the meantime of calling this individual out. And, I backed out of a verbal agreement very early on, and that's not a pretty thing to have on my resume. Like, I understand what I did was wrong, like of backing out to a breeder loan agreement when I first joined in. But I also laid out why I was doing it and whether you think that that's just or not, right? Like, I don't care. Like, if you don't think that's a good enough reason to back out of it, like, those are your standards and I get that. And I have learned from that mistake, and I will never get into one of those agreement type of situations again. I understood that I broke even my word, which to me means a lot, for my own reasons that I feel good morally that I could justify and ethically in my mind. But at the end of the day, I still did something and wasn't right of me to fully do that despite the circumstances. But, those kind of things are going to happen to just about everyone if you do this long enough. And if you're willing to just own up to it and admit that what you did was wrong, even under circumstances like mine, where I still feel it was very, very right and appropriate.
If it were today, that post would be even more justified.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I left things out of that post that I could probably continue to just
No, you just
add.
kept it factual and let people make their
Yeah. And it didn't make my bed. I'm still here.
No.
But yeah, so just be honest, I guess, for me is like the biggest thing that people can do.
Yeah.
What about for you?
For me, no, 100%. Just answer my own question. No, yeah, be honest and let your actions speak louder than your words. I mean, that's the simplest answer I can give because, um, for me, we all have a mutual acquaintance that recently went through some stuff, and I wasn't so much personally hurt, even though their message that they would talk about was for the animals. Um, I was more hurt because of the community of people that they built that lives by that kind of were betrayed because of their actions. And I felt like I would have had more respect and probably would have easily forgiven, like you were talking about, Lucas, if they would have just came out and said straight what it was 100% instead of dancing around the subject and trying to look like a politician.
Or throwing other people under the bus. But yeah, I mean, yeah, just be transparent. Yeah, I agree.
And there's no need for personal attacks. We don't need to play childish games where we're trying to get back at one another. And all of this could have been avoided from just people not wanting to get personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but what we're originally talking about couldn't have been avoided because this is a chronic narcissistic, neglectful
the
tendency.
person in the business being taken off of MorphMarket, that's totally different. But
bro, he has a video on where he's talking to another mutual friend of ours, and he's like, "Yeah, I just have a good vision about myself with these animals and how much I love these animals." Okay, well, in your fucking fairy tale in your head.
Gosh, I wish we could share screen right now and just play that video. But I also there's some casualties that happen in that video that I just don't want to share. I don't think that needs spotlight. But, man, how about this? We can, I don't know, Nathan. Maybe we'll post a link on the description. Just for some awareness.
Or
not.
Timestamp it too.
We don't got to do that.
Like I said, it almost dwarfs the FWC video for me.
Yeah,
Just
like warning, if you go and listen and look for this video that we're talking about and you go and do research and find the video, like just discretion advised, like not pretty, especially if you love and have a passion for these animals.
yeah, man.
Yep.
Me just loving these animals. Yeah, it's so hard for me to watch any animal
I
in that kind of
I think
condition.
it.
At least the FWC animals, they're all healthy when they came out.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. But at the same time, I think again, in regards to self-policing, is we need to educate ourselves in whatever situation happens. And so, as
Yeah.
hard of a
Okay.
video as that is to watch, because like I said, I literally was
I agree
depressed for a
with you.
week. Um, for us to be able to properly police, we need to know all the information, have all the evidence in front of us, and actually, not just say, "Oh, I heard from so and so. They said that this is what was in the video." No,
Yeah.
Here's maybe my only reason for maybe not wanting to post it. If it were solely just on the individual, um, being that
Right.
was being taken off a Morph Market, then I would gladly post it to our
Yeah.
comment
but
section.
my rebuttal to that, and Lucas knows how I feel, is even though there would be a secondary victim to it, we probably wouldn't be. I mean, he's tied to this individual, one way or another
Yeah,
now,
and put out an
and
apology to him. So I guess you're right. It hurts to do a little bit, you know.
I mean,
but
I feel like I mean, I get what you're saying, Adler. I just also feel that
it kind of
it's
falls into the idolization
I mean,
sphere.
I totally get that, and I mean, I mean, if we're talking about idolization, you don't have to worry about that with me about
Oh
the
no no no
specific
no 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 no
individual,
no
but
no. I'm
but
just saying that it kind of falls in that area, or at least the fear aspect of it, of why we wouldn't speak out. But either way, it's like,
yeah, I mean, for me, it's more of like a um,
because I would say the
you,
pictures do worse than what the other person
well,
is being brought in for.
then the content. I agree. So let me ask you guys this: um, someone out there supposedly has more pictures and videos. What's the ramifications if this goes public in like the bad timing or bad way? Like, how does one even make that stuff public without it potentially impacting or hurting our industry?
That's a hard one.
I think with something like this, there's no way to avoid some sort of collateral. I think we need to do a little bit of we need to try to do some damage control when it does end up releasing.
I
But
feel like some
I
type
don't
of
think it's
team.
gonna get to like and I've said this in our group chat before Lucas too, is I don't think it's gonna get to Tiger King levels.
I think it's beyond that. And oh man, I have information. I have information on why it's beyond that.
No,
Um,
I think there's a lot of similarities, and that's the only reason I even bring that up. But yeah, some of the same themes are happening here, not
yeah,
beyond the animals.
yeah. We're just. I don't think that this individual would be stupid enough to be on a Netflix documentary and burn themselves down. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. We talked about ego a minute ago.
yeah, yep. Pretty big one too. Um, so let's see.
But yeah, I don't know. Adler, what do you think as
In
far as
reg-
like what kind of damage do you think this is going to do, and how do we even go about like how does one go about releasing
Like,
information?
why aren't they out right now? Like, I feel like there has to be something going on.
yeah, yeah. I feel like the safe way to approach that is whatever organization, especially industry wide, whatever organization that would represent us in this type of matter, to kind of clean up that this isn't the entire community and it's just one individual. is having leadership, like USARK or an organization like that, kind of get ahead of the ball, prepare some words to be like, again, this is one individual, this is not the community, and explain why, and make sure that that information is given to the people that need to be hearing it. Because as individuals, we can only do so much, but we need some type of entity behind this that has some form of respect, in the general public, or at least in government.
So this is my call out then as a USARK member for the last few years. This, I've seen a handful of these pictures. I've seen proof that it's from this facility. He's been taken off of MorphMarket. I would like our reptile representation to come through and be outing people like this.
Yeah.
Let people know that it's not okay for these people to be vending shows. Release the pictures. I think an individual, it gets a little bit hairy, but if an organization comes out with these kind of pictures as kind of a watchdog kind of a stance, I think it's
the fact that they don't condone it.
Yeah, I think if I woke up with a newsletter detailing this, I think that would be completely appropriate.
Yeah.
So Phil, I would love that.
Yeah. I think the issue that falls on USARK's hand though is if you look at what USARK does, is I would love if USARK was more and did more, but what USARK is focused on is fighting legislation.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they don't have the man or woman power behind to also be a police for the community. That would take on a big
I don't necessarily think that, but when they have information forwarded to them that is outright animal abuse and neglect, torture, that kind of thing, I think then that there's an opportunity for them to do a little bit of self-policing.
Yeah. I really think we do need, as an industry, form another group, organization, or forum that does focus more so on policing our community. Because then just ethics, like, it's not going to be mandatory. There's not going to be where you have to follow everything, but at least a way,
a body
to some form of body to help people push forward and grow in their keeping and the way they work in the industry.
Yeah. And that was kind of going back to that group that I mentioned earlier on Facebook right now that people are trying to start for the Retic community. I think that actually wouldn't be a bad idea to have another entity in regards to handling ethics for the Retic community. I think that would be actually pretty cool. I don't know a lot of other.
It just has to be industry, though. If it's outside the industry or anything like that, that's where it comes.
Oh yeah,
you're talking about just Retic industry.
Just outside
reptiles.
Yeah, reptiles.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, because at that point, a representative from each community.
You're looking at potential FWC situations,
Right. Like a representative from each different community.
Yeah. Chondros, ball pythons, retics.
That'd be huge, though.
It needs to be community supported, and it needs to be people in the community that are running it. It just can't be government.
Definitely not. That'd be a shit show.
Well, and that's why we need to do it, though. Is if we don't, that's what eventually happens.
It's happening.
I mean, it's happening right now.
Yeah, and this isn't. I hope this isn't coming off as like a scare tactic or like a scare episode for those of you listening. That's not the intention, but I just think these are three minds trying to solve a huge problem that we have before it gets into the hands of people that can take away our ability to do what we love doing.
And I know it's heavy, but it's been weighing heavy on all three of us. And we just have to talk about it.
Me and Nathan weighed in and talked for several minutes about deciding if this episode even aligned with the Retic Lounge, right? And, at some point, we want to continue to build a positive community and be a place for new keepers and breeders to come and be a part of something that's next generation keeping. But we don't have a next generation keeping unless we have these tough conversations.
Yeah.
And so that's where this topic tonight kind of comes from.
Our industry is such in its teenage years that it's interesting to see. It's like, to make a joke on it, it's like we're having that birds and bees conversation, and the industry is scared to even think about it, to get to that next step, to grow up and be an adult. Um, so yeah, because I hear it all the time. I mean, me and you, Lucas, we talk a bunch about it. It's like, unless one of, like, and Nate, you said it earlier, unless one of us starts, nobody's going to start. One of us has to take that leap of faith and do it.
Yeah. Trying to think of any other little points I want to bring up. Lucas, do you have anything?
Now the only thing going through my mind is heavy stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And any of these dead air moments, I feel like that's just
Just processing,
why.
spinning. Yeah, my brain is just spinning and thinking, and flashes of these images. Um,
Yeah, man. I like completely abandoned talking to close friends for like a week and a half, almost 2 weeks, and took me a while to tell them what was up.
yeah,
So,
you don't even know.
well, and it's hard to kind of convey to people outside the reptile industry how what's going on and how it's affecting you too. I feel like that's a weird challenge.
Kind of like a similar sidebar. I work with a buddy that we worked multiple jobs together now, and he's totally into it. I got him into keeping bearded dragon, and he's like, he knows everything going on. He's like, so what's the drama? And that, like, he's totally in it. And this is like television for him. Um, but he knew that, like, I came into work one day and he's like, "What's up?" And kind of just told him the situation. And he had been anticipating, right? Because everything that's transpired over the last several months, and yeah, even he could tell. He's like, "Yeah, you don't seem with it today." So it's a small price to pay for awareness. So let me caveat this and just give you guys some existential statements and insight before we tune out. Obviously, we'll let Adler kind of have some final thoughts and do just kind of a introduction with Adler. But so the only agent for change is awareness. When you have awareness, you have the ability to gain insights, to make a plan that creates change. There's a term called Gestalt, and Gestalt means awareness. And in Gestalt therapy, the entire purpose of therapy is for that individual who is going through therapy to gain awareness of themselves, insight of their behaviors, of their emotions, of their nonverbal body language. Because when you have insight and you have Gestalt, you have awareness, you have the ability to change for the better. And so for those of you that don't want to look at it, that don't want to see it, that want to say it's drama and dismiss it and turn your back towards it, it's the furthest thing from what you need to actually be doing if you want change to happen for the better. Awareness is the only place to start for change. And I just want to encourage all of you. I want to go back to that whole drama, that word drama. Even if it is drama, be aware of it, because the more you keep yourself in the closet, the more you're going to miss, and the more that you don't have the opportunity to help further positive change. Anyways, rant over.
Yeah, I I think that's a decent place to add. I just want to add one little warning. Um, this last, well, ever since the Holy Thursday thing, so the last few weeks, almost a month now, has been pretty heavy on the reptile industry. People in the retic industry, it's gonna get worse before it gets better. These pictures and everything that comes out, it's gonna be heavy. Um, so be aware. Um, you know, I would I would just caution you going in to the next few weeks that there's going to be some heavy stuff, but ultimately it's for the good. It's for the change that we want to see in this industry. So
Adler, any last thoughts, statements you want to make about the topic? And then as we're tailing out of this, if you want to let people know where they can find you, you can even drop your Patreon plug. I'd love for you to do that.
Yeah, I'll make sure to give you the link too. Um, Biggest thing is with these animals is check your ego at the door. We wouldn't be anywhere without them. When people say it's the well-being of the animal, make sure it's the well-being of the animal. Like again, without them, there's no business, there's no social media, there's nothing. I mean, we got into this for the love of the animal and make sure that it stays that way because once you want to make a profit and make money off of it, and I'll go into a further point with that, but they become a product. For me, I'm trying to figure out a way to build a business that doesn't rely on me selling the animals. Like I do want to breed, and I want to breed just to give my animals a full life cycle, um, and to experience that myself. Because with these animals and how beautiful they are, that's a part of it. But um, I want to just enjoy my time with these animals, the way that I keep them, the way that I watch them, the way that I handle them. Um, and so I'm trying to develop a business that I can still help the industry, but not have to rely on the animals to be the bread and butter that's bringing the dollar signs in.
It's a good point.
So, yeah, I mean, shit. I think like some cool people are doing is a lot of 3D printing stuff. Like I know you guys, um, I won't burn it, but
no, no,
uh,
I think this is a great chance to introduce our next
yeah,
sponsor, and that's Chris Sexton from Healy Guy Serpents. He's been doing some incredible 3D printing for the industry. He's doing purchase for Lucas, purchase for me, for all of my tubs, so that my hatchlings have some enrichment.
Yeah.
well,
Um, it's pretty awesome stuff.
Yeah. What were
or
you
like
gonna add to
him. No, I was just gonna say like Chris. There's also like Father Blue who works with the Blue Tree Monitors that
that?
has been 3D printing those termite the tree termite mounds
Yeah,
for
those are
them
really
to
cool.
nest in. Like it's just amazing what you can do. So it's use the inspiration that these animals give you to find a way how to help the industry. And there's
Right.
a lot of easy tools now to be able to do that. So
Mhm.
Right.
don't be shy, and just go for it.
Yeah. No, I agree. I feel like a lot of the people who end up leaving any other type of job and their only income is based off of these animals, uh, you open yourself up for uh, a lot of things to go wrong from an ethics standpoint, from business standpoint. But yeah, it's a really good point.
As
Um,
far as I was just gonna plug in my links if you want me
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I was gonna ask you.
to. Yeah, no. As far as where you guys can find me, again on Instagram, you can either shoot me a message personally at AEfoundry. That's my art page with some of the video stuff that I do for our reptile page, which is at Serpent underscore Eclipse. I will answer that, but my wife also runs that page, so you'll see the name Jamie under that one. As far as Patreon, I recently started a Patreon. I've been going through a lot of live stuff, but I'm getting back at it. That is where I am teaching and using my creative know-how to teach anybody in the reptile industry who wants to learn how to use a camera, learn how to work graphic design software, 3D software, whatever you need that might be able to help you build your business as far as marketing and so on. That's what we're doing on our Patreon. So if you want to find that one, you just go to patreon.com slash serpent eclipse. or is it Serpent underscore Eclipse? I gotta get the link, but I'll make sure I'll give it to Lucas and Nate to put in the description below. And then I'll hopefully see most of you at shows. I love attending shows, and I've made a big push over the last year and a half to try to get anywhere across the nation. I mean, I go to Texas to go see Lucas. I still need to see Nate in Utah.
Yeah, I think the one Tinley that you didn't go to was the one I went to.
Yeah.
Are you
October
gonna
last year.
are you gonna go to Arlington again? Because I'm gonna be able to see my green tree python that I got.
Yeah. Arlington's a must for me.
Nathan, did you see that on the Discord, or is this the first time you're hearing of this?
I knew you were going to. I didn't know you did.
Yeah,
No,
recent
he's
events.
he's waiting. He's waiting for this one.
Yeah, this is from Bill.
No, I knew it would be from Bill, but is it waiting to hatch?
No, it just hatched.
Oh, just hatched.
So
okay.
he's
you
gonna
got it from this clutch.
Yeah, for a sickness baby.
Yeah.
Or descendants of sickness. But anyways, we won't get into that because I could talk about that forever. But appreciate you coming on, Adler. For those of you that are still listening to the end of this, I just want to thank you all so far for making it to the end. Go ahead and join our Patreon if you are wanting to join probably one of the best communities that are out there. And USARK. I just want to just end with that. Yeah, the USARK. Oh, yeah, we all got our TRL shirts on. Someone show the back of it. I don't think people have seen the back. Anyways, USARK and USARK Florida, especially USARK Florida right now, we have a big, nice. Look how swole Adler looks. They're gonna need a lot of our support with legislation, things that are going on, this whitelist thing. So, go on over to those websites, join them, get those newsletters. If you're a breeder, I want to encourage you to ask your buyers if they have a USARK membership. If they don't, help them out with that. Anything else?
No, I think that's an awesome point to make is coming up with unique ways to get us more USARK members. So yeah, if you're a breeder,
who is that that did that, Lucas? Was that Chris?
Chris.
Yep. Yeah, we interviewed Chris, and that was something he mentioned, and that's 100% what every large constrictor breeder should be doing, and any reptile breeder. But I think it's especially important for any of the large constrictors.
No, I plan to do it when we start having more animals to sell. That if they bring me proof that they sign up for USARK, I'll take off a nice chunk of change for them, just for doing it.
All right. Thanks, listeners. We'll catch you next Friday with another episode.